What's up, dudes? Max here, back to have a conversation with you about one of my most beloved franchises in terms of fighting games out there, and it's the Soul Calibur series. You might have remembered back in E3 of 2016, earlier this year, I made my top 5 games I wish would show up at E3 2016, and Soul Calibur Reboot was one of them, especially considering that the 20th anniversary for Soul Calibur and the entire game's franchise is now taking place, and they have a website for it. So the stage of history is set. Everyone is talking about Soul Calibur more than ever in the past 5 years, and they recently had an announcement. How will they be celebrating the 20th anniversary of Soul Calibur? Take a look. Fucking patchy slot! Oh my god! First Samurai Showdown, then Metal Gear 3, and now this? This seems to be a very common trend with some Japanese developers, especially when they're teasing something, a franchise that you haven't heard of in a very long time, and then all of a sudden it ends up being a friggin' patchy slot game. However, as disappointing as this is, I don't think that this is the entirety of the celebration for the 20th anniversary of Soul Calibur from Bandai Namco. I do feel that there is something in the works, as they have been talking a lot about Soul Calibur on their Twitter and Facebook, with some teases here and there kind of over the past year. It feels like they're kind of gauging the audience in terms of their interest for Soul Calibur, but the big question is, we're now almost 5 years since the release of Soul Calibur 5. What direction is this series going to go? And kind of my thoughts on what I'm looking forward to in terms of what could happen for a Soul Calibur. Soul Calibur 5, for as much as I liked the game, did not sell well, and in the eyes of many hardcore Soul Calibur fans or even casual fans, many things were changed in Soul Calibur 5, adding mechanics and making it a little bit more complex than the earlier versions. From the time I did spend playing it, giving characters supers as well as like EX moves technically was a lot of fun, and that's actually something I hope continues down the line. It would be cool to give enhanced moves of some kind to characters, especially in Soul Calibur games, because critical finishers were actually kind of awesome in Soul Calibur 4, they just very, very infrequently happened. However, that kind of got fixed in Soul Calibur 5 with supers, but I do kind of hope that supers are a little more touched up. I find some of them to be somewhat uninspirational in Soul Calibur 5, and especially the fact that you have many things that you can use meter on in SC5, especially when it comes to guard impacts. That one did kind of hurt, and I would like to see that changed in the future. And overall, I think Soul Calibur as a series kind of needs to get rebooted. The Soul Calibur series did get an increasing amount of characters over time, although a lot of them did go away in Soul Calibur 5, being replaced by other characters. So I think that the overall roster for this game felt really good in Soul Calibur 3. However, in Soul Calibur 4, we did get Hilde, and I think she's actually really cool. She fits very well in the Soul Calibur universe, but then going down the line, you think of like Algol and some other characters that are ultimately kind of forgettable, in my opinion. The roster in Soul Calibur 3, I feel, is actually really sound, even though the game, to many regards, totally isn't, and is very busted at an extremely high level. There's a lot of really great characters in Soul Calibur 3, and I feel that those are the base characters they need to kind of work on, if not go back to Soul Calibur 1 and Soul Calibur 2, if they are planning on rebooting it in some way. Not everyone would be happy with this, but I think it'd be a step in the right direction for the series, which has seen diminishing returns, especially over the past couple of games, and one of the biggest aspects of Soul Calibur since Soul Calibur 2 has been the appearance of guest characters, and I think this is a huge opportunity going forward for the Xbox, the PlayStation, and the Nintendo Switch. Just hear me out, I feel that they should replicate something similar to what they did back on the PlayStation 2, GameCube, and original Xbox era, which featured Heihachi on the PlayStation, Spawn on the Xbox, and Link on the GameCube. Of course, the best version of all of those was absolutely the GameCube version, because Link was a dream come true and fit perfectly in the Soul Calibur universe, and those games sold astronomically well. Soul Calibur 2 was the biggest in the series, and Soul Calibur 1 kind of set a staple for fighting games, especially when it showed up on the Dreamcast, being incredibly better than the arcade version. Soul Calibur is a game that's built on weapon combat, and it's built on being extremely pleasing to the eye. Like, graphics should really push this game's presentation, and the gameplay should be simplified and focused into something fun without adding too many mechanics on mechanics, which is essentially how we got Soul Calibur 5, which left some kind of unhappy in terms of gameplay. So here we go, my pitch for a future Soul Calibur game to be a reboot of some kind, taking things back to the classic and making it a little bit more focused, and introducing the game on multiple different consoles, allowing for guest characters. Who would these guest characters be? Well, I'm glad you asked. First up, with the PlayStation version, I would heavily recommend my personal pick as a Bloodborne hunter, or one of the main Bloodborne characters like Lady Maria, Gascoigne, something like that. If it's a generic Bloodborne hunter, I think that's actually kind of awesome. The front cover Bloodborne guy would fit perfectly in this game with a transforming weapon of some kind, or if he was able to switch weapons, that would be equally as cool, considering they can also have a secondary gun type of weapon to back things up. That could even act similar to a Bloodborne-style parry, where it works as a guard impact. That'd be super cool. That's a dream come true, but thinking along the PlayStation lineup of characters, I don't think there's one that hasn't really been used before that fits as good as a Bloodborne hunter, because that is a Sony-ass Sony character. Of course, the Nintendo side of things is really important, and I do stress that a lot of people want to see Link once again. I know a Fire Emblem character also makes perfect sense, but I feel the Fire Emblem series of characters are already heavily influenced in the Smash Bros. Titles, so without even being a huge fan of the series, I would like to nominate something a little bit different, and that's the Legend of Zelda Hyrule Warriors, the redesigned modern version of Ganon with the crazy long hair, and he looks absolutely nuts. I really dig this version of Ganon. I think he looks super sick, and I feel that throwing Ganon into this game also makes perfect sense right alongside Link. You don't have to have Link once again. I think Ganon would be a wonderful inclusion, considering all the crazy stuff he's done throughout the Zelda games and all the insane stuff that he does in Hyrule Warriors. It could be super freaking cool, and it would very much appeal to the Nintendo audience, especially the Zelda fans like Link back in the past. Now, the next one is kind of iffy because we need an Xbox character. And as much as I would like to say that Master Chief or a Gears of War character or something heavily shooter-related would work, I just don't think it does. There was a Master Chief-style character in Dead or Alive 4 back when the Xbox 360 launched, but it wasn't Master Chief, it was actually another character. So that's already been done before. A Gears of War character made it into Killer Instinct, that's already been done before. So who would actually make it into a Soul Calibur game that is directly from Microsoft? And it pretty much boils down to a Killer Instinct character, in my opinion. Of course, I like KI. I know a lot of you guys on this channel like Killer Instinct as well, but if we took someone from one of those classic eras that the Soul Calibur characters represent, the stage of history style characters, it's either going to be something along the lines of Tusk, because he comes from an older era, or like Gargos or Idol, considering they're monsters and they're gods of the past in some way. Any of these characters I'd be extremely happy with, and especially considering that Killer Instinct is a huge Microsoft property, that really feels like it would fit best. I don't think it would happen. I think they would fit in something other than that, like one of their more mainstay big AAA kind of games, because Killer Instinct isn't really a AAA game. I would just love it to be that way. So, to sum everything up, I love the Soul Calibur series. I desperately hope something happens during this 20th anniversary. Maybe there'll be an announcement at E3, even though I wanted it last year. I'm still hoping for it to be true, and for us to get guest characters along the lines of a Bloodborne hunter, Ganon from Hyrule Warriors on the Switch, and maybe even a Killer Instinct character for the Xbox. My God, man, dreams can come true considering the insane amount of stuff that's happened over the past few weeks. As always, dudes, thank you a ton for watching. What do you think about the Soul Calibur series? Did you really like Soul Calibur 5? Do you want to see it to be a Soul Calibur 6? Or do you feel it needs to be rebooted as like earlier in this video? Also, let me know your mentions of what your favorite guest characters would be if this even was a thing. I'll be back with more Soul Calibur information and news as soon as it becomes available. My name is Max, and I'll see you guys next time.